Recording.
Hello, and welcome to our College Red Bull Soapbox animation. My name is Alex Louch. I'm here with
Lawrence Young
and
Aidan Acton.
We have been taught. What we're going to see today is a college project to create a advertising for the Red Bull Soapbox event for 2022, or an advertisement that we will then pitch to Red Bull as a to see if they would take our idea.
Red Bull has given us the task of creating an advertisement for the Red Bull Soapbox event in 2022. We've specifically been tasked with creating a group in which we designate each other a certain role. Say one is doing animation, like the main animation for the project, another doing sound effects for the background, things like that.
As a group, we had decided that I would be the leader of the project, so I would be the one to make sure everyone was on time with their assignments, make sure no one had any problems, or if there were, that I would help them with it in any way I can. So to make sure that we could all reach our targets for the project, we designated tasks where we would all design a car for the project, so we would all create our own one in modelling. Aidan would focus on creating the racetrack for our project. Lawrence would be the main animator, so he would work on lighting effects, camera work, and a few other small bits for that. Whilst the two would work together to gather audio samples and special effects for me to edit together, as well as a commentary for the project, and we would all simultaneously work together on an interactive element, which would be a website for the advertisement and the products. So to make sure we could all reach our targets reasonably and not holding them back, we started off by creating a time plan that would just go over what we were doing in what order, to make sure we could all, so we wouldn't hold anyone up, and make sure that we could make the best product possible. So as you can see, we started with a start date of a project and the end date, so as quickly going over what we would be doing and when we needed the task done by.
So to be more efficient in our research for the project, we decided to each research a separate thing. Personally, I researched previous Red Bull Soapbox events, just to sort of gain a better understanding of what would occur in a Red Bull Soapbox event specifically.
I did target audience for this one. So what I found out for target audience is it was mainly aimed for like teenagers and adults for the red box. So yeah.
And I took the task of researching Red Bull in general, looking at previous advertisements and their website to get an idea of the type of way they speak to their target audience, the style they use, and past events they've done. Like an example one for Formula One to advertise that it was coming to America the first time in years. They had a famous American actor, Tom Cruise, do an advertisement in an old F1 car to build up hype and excitement for the event coming back to the country.
Okay, we had to make up a theme for this red box. So our theme for this, as we picked, because we needed to appeal to the target audience, adults and teens, we picked movie cars for our theme. So yeah, because it appealed to target audience for this. And we also had to do, each of us had to do one visual element for each, an audio and an interactive for it. So our interactive was a website. As for audio, we had a commentator, background noise, crowd cheering, and then visual, we had our car, short, our animation and our racetrack.
So for our visual element, we I created a Nissan from Too Fast, Too Furious, as I felt like it was a rather popular movie within teenagers mostly in our target audience.
I decided to appeal more to the older audience and created a 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback from the film called Bullitt starring Steve McQueen. I chose that to appeal to an older audience as well as car enthusiasts, as it has a very iconic car chase scene going over the hills of San Francisco, so it would be noticeable from the beginning if you were a car fanatic or a classic film for older people, so they'd know what they were looking forward to and there would be something that appeals to them.
Oh, so I did the Aston Martin from James Bond. I picked this car because I mainly did it for the target audience, so I did it for more of the adult side of the target audience for me, because as Lawrence said, he'd be kind of teens, so I tried to go for adults. Also, I had to make the racetrack, the animation that Lawrence did. So yeah, I had to research that, and I based it off previous races that they'd done. So yeah.
So I mainly did the animation. Once all of our cars were finished and we were all happy with our models, Aidan passed over the main model for the racetrack environment. It was mostly untextured, so I just had to get textures for the grass, the hay bales at the side of the road, the tarmac for the road, and a skydome texture. I also put a Big Ben in the background to evidence that the event was taking place in London. Once I was happy with the overall environment, I imported the cars and attached them to dummies. Once the dummies were functioning properly, I made the actual animation with auto keys. Once that was done, I created a camera and a track for the camera with a spline. Made sure it was proceeding along the track at the correct speed, I suppose, to stay in line with the cars. I also moved the target for the camera around to actually keep the cars in frame for the entirety of the animation. Once I'd rendered out the animation and was happy with it, I then gave it to Alex, who would add sound effects and other things.
Before we, whilst Lawrence was doing the animation and the lighting for it, me and Aidan worked together to help create a website for it. So we had already designated who would be working on which page, as you can see. And so whilst Lawrence was working on animation, me and Lawrence went ahead and tackled different aspects of the website. I did the home page and worked together with Aidan on the contacts. So for the home page, I created a background image with things to recognise it was Red Bull. So the logo, a little, I guess you could call it, logo of the event itself, along with the Red Bull, as well as the iconic Red Bull gives you wings, that slogan that they have on most of their adverts. So I put that together, as well as laying out ready for the animation to go on when it was ready to become a video.
Okay, so next we had the venue page. This was a short and sweet page, to be honest. All we did was we found out where we wanted the event to be held, and we put the address there, and we put a picture of it so we know what it looked like for when they wanted to find it. So the next page we did was the theme page. I did that one. So what I did was for the theme page, I just talked about the theme, or what the theme for the next race was going to be, and then I put a few examples of what cars you would see or would want to be in the race for next year. And at the bottom, I put in a little text that said, if you want to apply for next year, you could, and there would be a button that would send you to the application form.
That button was also on the homepage, so I forgot to mention that.
I made the terms and conditions page. I mainly researched the previous terms and conditions used for the Red Bull Soapbox event. That involved documents that would be sent to applicants in previous events, which stated the dimensions of their car and small rules stating like how the steering and brakes would work. I also created a application form which used questions which were previously used in Red Bull websites.
And then for the contact, it was a quite simple matter of putting down where the venue would be held and where they could talk with people for if they had any problems or questions, as well as a small email box where they could fill out their name, their email address, and what problems, what questions or what queries they had on the event before sending it off to an email to be replied to by the event managers. And once I had done my website part and Lawrence had finished the animation, after he sent it to me, I then started work on the audio. Because I had decided to create a commentary of the animation, I had not seen any of it. I had known the layout and seen a rough draft before it was finished, but I had not seen how the event would take place or unfold to give a complete blind commentary of it to be as accurate to an actual Red Bull Soapbox race or an F1 race, for example, would be. So I had no clue what was going to happen or who would, or how the animation would turn out and events take place in it. So I used Audacity to create an audio file and film my commentary as I was watching the animation for the first time. And once that was done, I used a editing software I had called Pinnacle 24 Studio, which I got whilst researching the event and found it on a special event almost, and put the video as well as exporting, adding my MP3 file of my audio, the commentary, over the animation so it's smooth finally. But because I had made a build up and an end piece to the animation, on the commentary, the animation wasn't long enough, so I created a little, I guess you could call it a placeholder to go in front and at the end of the animation, so I could talk and set up the scene properly before it started, making it more interesting and more realistic to an actual racing commentary. And once I'd done that bit, I got given the audio files from Aidan and Lawrence of special effects, so crowds cheering, a starting horn, a countdown, so there's a few other things, and put them in line to go to activate at certain places of the video. But some of the files that Aidan and Lawrence has found weren't of the correct one. There was a IFF M4A which wouldn't work in my editing software, so Lawrence went and helped me convert the files to MP3 so we could run them properly and put them in the video to work. And as a final extra, because they were classic cars, I actually went and got a file from my neighbour who lives down the road who owned a Mustang. I asked him, requested that if he would be willing to turn his car on and rev the engine for me, so allow me to record the audio file to make it as realistic and to the actual car as it would be. And we'll now show you our website and the final products we have created. As you can see, these are the QR codes for the cars we have made, which are also on the website for you to view in a moment. As you can see, this is our home page where I've created the backdrop, as well as the time, as well as the date that the event would take place, and the apply button should take you to our terms and conditions. And a little bit further down, we have the final product of the animation, which we will play for you now.
Might need to put the speakers on the microphone.
Yeah, let's just Apologies, you haven't got any audio at the moment.
You just pause it. Oh, you haven't.
No, I've got audio, but it's not coming through the computer. It's muted.
Yeah. That's. Oh.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the 2022 Red Bull Soapbox event here in London. I'm your commentator Alex Lausch, and today, as you can see, we have three beautiful recreations of film cars here at our track to see which is the fastest of them all. You can see them all at the line, all from different eras, all from different genres of films. I'm particularly quite fond of that Mustang, and they're off already. And you can see that the Mustang is quickest off the line with the Aston Martin following side by side. The Nissan is slightly behind but coming up quickly. We come around the first corner and the Mustang is pulling away in the lead up to the first jump, and they're all coming up to the hill. And the Mustang is down first, but they're all bumping around. The Aston's had a bit of a scrap and is now falling behind. The Nissan and the Mustang are head to head going through, but the Aston is speeding up through the inside in the middle of them. Onto the second jump, and the Mustang has gone flying. The Nissan is holding on about half a car's width, but the Aston is falling behind. Round the corner, and the Mustang is burst across with the Nissan and the Aston just missing out. Oh, it was a fantastic quick race there. Oh, it was brilliant. Truly a great example of what we can expect for the rest of next year. If you like any part of the amazing spectacle we've just seen, feel free to apply to a team or by yourself, or to come down to London to watch the event in person. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all on the track in London next year.
So that was our final products of the event and how the animation turned out. And we will now show you the rest of the event, including the venue screen.
So, I made the venue. I just searched up the location of the recent Red Bull Soapbox event in 2017. I found that it was placed in Alexandra Palace. I'm not sure which road was specifically used. I think it was one around here. It's not really shown too well in the image, but somewhere near there.
Okay, this was my page that I was tasked to do. As you see, underneath the title there was a brief description of what you would expect or what theme would be for the next year. Then underneath there was, here you had QR codes of each car that you saw in the animation, just to give you a rough idea of what your car should look like, or gives you some ideas of what you could do for your car when you apply for the Red Bull.
And we have the tabs up with the QR code, so you'll be able to scan it from your phone or any device with a QR scanner to see them on their own renders and turntables. And here is the Aston Martins. Here is the Nissan. And here is the Mustang.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the...
Sorry about that.
Okay, and to finish off this page, at the bottom is where you can click the button below and it will send you to the application form so you can apply for the next year's Red Bull.
As previously stated, I created this page. I made this image for terms and conditions. These were the main sort of terms which I would personally focus on. Just stating that all team members must be 18 plus. Each team member must sign a disclaimer, and things like the soapbox dimensions, how the steering and braking will work, the weight, things like that. If you scroll down, you'll see the application form which I created, which just used questions that were used in previous Red Bull application forms for the Soapbox event.
And also with the QR code on this screen, it will take you to an example of a 2016 Red Bull Soapbox terms and conditions, so you can have a better understanding of what you'd actually have to understand and agree to, which, if the idea were to go through, we would create our own proper one for 2022 London. And we then have our contact page, which is very simple, like I stated earlier, of the address of the event and where it will take place, as well as a Google Maps image so you can find it a bit better, as well as a little email form for you to fill out and ask your questions that will be sent directly to our email for us to see and reply to as soon as possible. And that is our presentation. We'd all like to thank you very much for watching and listening to us, and we hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much, and if there are any questions, please ask.